I'm going to tell you a story of the one time my girlfriend shot arrows directly into the face of one of my college classmates. It sounds a lot worse than it actually is, as it wasn't an actual person being shot at, but a picture of a person. This is a story that I told on my old YouTube channel a very long time ago, and I know it's really on brand with what I'm currently drawing on the screen. I've been really into Fallout New Vegas lately, and I also figured that since I've been drawing so much on my iPad, why don't I just record a little bit of the work that I've been doing? Back to what I was saying, this is a story that I've told before that I had to take down. Prefrontal lobe development made me tell the story in a way that I find now was kind of insane, maybe a little disrespectful at some points. Although, I need to be clear, we are definitely gonna get disrespectful to several different factions of people. And of course, a reason that I took the video down on my other channel, was reluctant to put it back up or ever speak about it till this day, was because this is a real story that involved real people. And there were repercussions to many actions that had occurred. The most recent one being one of the main reasons I ended up taking the video down was my ex-girlfriend, the perpetrator, or should I say the archer in question, actually saw the video. I don't know how much she saw of it, but she reached out to me and asked me if I could take it down, and like a cowering pussy, I did. And that's something that I wish I didn't do for that person, because in that short-lived relationship, I was treated pretty fucking harshly towards the end, and I really didn't owe them jack. With that out of the way in my older age, I feel like there is some kind of way that I can tell you about this story without it being as explosive as it was the first time I recited it. And so I'm gonna take you back to college. The year must have been 2017 or 2018, something along those lines. There are a lot of things that were changing for me in my life. One of the main things being that I, for the first time, started to really identify with being trans and being male and whatnot. It wasn't something that was solidified until a couple months later, but in this moment, I was always teetering and more leaning towards the masculine. Something else pretty big was that I had gotten out of a relationship that I was in. For about 6 months, I dated this guy that I abruptly met at college. It was a very toxic relationship on both sides, and of course, it didn't end up working out. When I got out of this relationship, and also being somebody who was in college for less than a year, I realized that this was my time to just stop fucking around with dudes after dating and being and sleeping with them for a couple of years. Finally, it was time for me to be a lesbian. Now, this was loaded, and it wasn't easy getting to this point, nor would it continue to be easy, but this was the moment in my life where I finally decided I'm free, I'm not at home, I'm away from home, as a matter of fact, so I should try this out. I should try being with girls the way that I've always thought about them fondly, and the way that I've always dreamed to be. Now, at this point, I believe I had had sex with one girl. Maybe that's TMI, but I think it's a little important-ish. We'll get into why later. I had this internet friend, somebody who had been cool with me for maybe about a year. They were a cosplayer, and I cosplayed here and there. Apparently, they got a hold of me this one time. I cosplayed Yoonbum, of all fucking people. I'm getting Vietnam flashbacks from Killing Stalking. If you know, you fucking know. That is a whole other can of worms. But I had cosplayed Yoonbum. If I can find pictures, I'll put them up on the screen. And they were a Sang-woo cosplayer. Already off to a really great start, obviously. Apparently, they really liked my Yoonbum cosplay, thought I was one of the only good or legitimate looking ones, so they had followed me back then, and for whatever reason, there was a certain point where they started to pay a lot of attention to me. And so we began to text each other every day, and what started off as a bubbling friendship slowly started to turn into flirting, and of course, feelings being felt. Now, this was a person, again, that I had never really met before. They were an internet friend. They lived states away. And so while there wasn't much that I could think about it, I did know that I had feelings for them, and I wasn't alien to the idea or the thought of dating somebody online. One way or another, me and this person ended up online dating. Now, there are a couple things that I just kind of want to get out of the way. I mentioned earlier that it really wasn't a good relationship. This person was really unfair to me, and so I leaned into the madness and the chaos. I fell head over heels in love, whatever whatever that means when you're 19 years old and have only really dated men that you disregarded. Well, it was love. It was what I thought was love in that moment. And so they had claimed the same, and they would do nice things for me here and there. For example, I remember my go-to was Starbucks. I would sit in a Starbucks by my school, and I would have my bacon, egg, and Gouda and drink my matcha latte. That was like a thing that I did because at the time I was working on a comic called Boredom. And so I would just sit there and either do homework or work on this passion project of mine. I remember a couple of times they bought me Starbucks, sent me an online gift card, something sweet like that. But something else to note was that after 2 months of being with this person, we never spoke to each other on the phone. Now, I know you're about to turn into Neve Schulman, okay? I know you're about to get all investigator on me, but I can only assume that this person was indubitably real because even though they didn't want to talk to me on the phone or over voice chat or play video games with me or anything like that, they would oftentimes send me audio messages and also videos of them. Example, I would say, hey, I'm at home sitting right now, and they'd be like, yeah, I'm eating some yogurt. Send me a video of them with yogurt. Or I would be like, oh my god, look at this meme, it's making me cringe. I'd send a video of me doing that, and then they would like react with the same exact scenario. So I knew that this was a real person. Also, anytime they went to cons, they were always in other people's stories. They were solid. I believe that they were active online. I don't know if it was a power thing or a what thing. I don't know why it was that they never wanted to speak to me on the phone. Call it an insecurity. I call it being a dickhead, because at the end of the day, this person was telling me that they were going to marry me. They were saying that they were going to book a flight to come see me in the following fall. So how can you make all of those promises, but you can't do the bare minimum, which is literally calling me on the fucking phone? I was a clown, and I honestly should have pulled the plug in the relationship in that moment, but I think I was just really infatuated with the prospects of having this person who I could speak to and who was supporting and who was also an artist and a very attractive one at that. Yeah, I was the white woman's whore for a little bit. I just farted. And so time went on. Now, at about the 2-month mark of me being in this relationship, maybe even the first month, it was a short relationship. I think 4 months was the max. There was a point where I started this math class, but I had made a friend, or I had met a person who was basically my desk mate, somebody that I sat next to, and I'm not sure who sat next to who or how that ended up that way, but we began to talk and develop some sort of acquaintanceship. Now, this person was kind of unstable in their own right. I'm not going to judge, but at the same time, there were a lot of things that they were telling me that I probably didn't need to know as somebody who had only been in that class 3 times. One thing that they mentioned to me specifically during the first class I think that we had was that they were in a relationship with a guy, but that they were also pretty interested in women, and that this relationship was open in a sense. The boyfriend would allow her to experiment with a girl if the opportunity came to them. I thought that that was interesting and probably weird, but I also kind of blew it off. And of course, doing the very obvious mentioning that I had a partner and a girlfriend at any point in the conversation that I felt like. I don't remember if it was the first class that I had with this girl or the second class, but naturally, I went and told my girlfriend about this person that I met that I thought was peculiar, and that at certain times I couldn't tell if they were flirting with me or what. My girlfriend noted this and obviously started to follow along with that edgy, possessive trope. Something along the lines of, well, she better watch herself. I don't really know what we were saying back in the day, but I could sense that they were jealous or pretending to be jealous or something. I don't really know. And so some time passes. I continue to talk to this girl from my class, and of course, I'm learning more and more, and in the very least, we're developing some kind of friendship. Although even at the time, prefrontal lobe development, I knew that there was something off about her, or that she was dangerous, or just very, very unstable in the very least. My ex-girlfriend participated in archery classes. I don't know how she got into that, but she did. One morning, she comes to me with a very oddly specific request, and I don't think I saw it in the moment. She was asking me for a picture of this classmate. We kind of got into an argument about it. I felt weird about the fact that they were asking me for this thing. I thought, if this is a jealousy thing, I don't understand the importance of it, considering the fact that I am not interested in this classmate. I also didn't know what she needed that picture for or what she was going to do with it. And I want to tell you that in that moment, I think my brain maybe had gone to her archery classes. I thought something about it. Either way, it was an argument that ultimately ended with me sending a picture of my classmate to my girlfriend. Gee whiz. A couple hours later, after running around doing whatever college business I had, and my girlfriend at the time doing whatever she had to do, I receive an image of, you guessed it, a target board, a picture of my classmate's face on the target board, and several arrows lunged directly into her head. Once again, because this is something that involved real people, like something that actually happened, I'm reluctant to give away many details or to show many pictures. So for 2.5 seconds, I'm gonna flash the image on a screen. Of course, even back when I made the original video, it was blanked out by an emoji, the person's face. But just so that you know that I'm not bullshitting you, if you saw it, you saw it. If you didn't, I don't know what to tell you. In the moment, I remember kind of feeling a little crazy. There were a couple things that were going on in my head. The first thing was, wow, she must really love me. And maybe that's a part of the love bombing that I experienced from this person. And one of the ways that I fell into this strange trap, an overall strange, unhealthy relationship. Another thing that I thought, or that I felt, was guilt. Although it was something that I thought in my head would be kept between me and my partner, I still felt bad for the girl. Sure, I thought she was unstable and a little strange, but did she deserve all that? All I could do was really laugh it off and move on with my day. Once again, obsessed and overwhelmed with the prospects of my partner who surely must love me if these were the things that she was going out of her way to do. On top of that, like I mentioned, I got a lot of validation from being somebody that she spoke about. When she sent me that picture, she mentioned that her classmates were applauding her because they knew the situation of some girl in her boyfriend's classes flirting, being flirtatious, and so this was her revenge. I thought, wow, she's talking about me, and wow, she must really care about me. So even though I feel that little bit of guilt and craziness, it's gotta be worth it, right? Right. So then what? Time keeps on passing. We're reaching the 3 to 4 month mark of my relationship with this person, and it's coming to a close. After all of the love bombing, after all of the promises of coming to visit me or talking on the phone someday, my partner began to seriously pull away from me. In the very least, when we were quote-unquote strong, we were texting most of the time, in communication. Everything was chill, and I was feeling validated to the best of my abilities. But once again, they began to just pull away and become more dodgy, and every time I would ask about it, I would be promised that nothing was wrong. Until one day the narrative gets flipped on my head. I'm of course asking too many questions about why things have changed, so now I'm overwhelming and my girlfriend is trying to break up with me because of it. And I was pretty devastated. Devastated for a very, very long time. But in that moment, it was really, really brutal. At that time in college and a couple months prior, I had first discovered the wonders of Benadryl. It was something that I began to abuse pretty heavily. By pretty heavily, I mean, I can safely tell you that the most pills I took in one sitting was probably about 11. Silly goose. Just get your hands on some alcohol. Yeah, it was pretty bad, and I'm glad that I never went over that amount, especially with the recent reports of DPH and the actual harmful effects that it has on your brain, especially when using it in excess. But the day that I got broken up with, I remember I fucking went to town on my fucking packet of Benadryl. I was popping them damn things like they were candy. Anything to help me forget about my internet Bakugo cosplaying girlfriend, who had dumped me on my fucking ass, and who wouldn't tell me why. Maybe there was a silver lining, because although my girlfriend at the time was breaking up with me, or in the process of breaking up with me, I had a friend to console me. And would you believe it or not, it was the girl from my classes. I think that same night I got broken up with, I somehow was telling this girl about what was happening. One way or another, her boyfriend dropped her off to my house, and we engaged in sex. Also, very quickly jumping in to tell you that her intentions were not the best either, because far before the breakup even occurred, she was telling me that in the off chance that me and my girlfriend didn't last, she would love to experiment with me, or saying, oh, you did mention you have a girlfriend, so I did back off, but I am attracted to you. Once again, all of this being far before the breakup even occurred, so I guess you just really jumped for that fucking opportunity the moment I was single, huh? And to give credit, I guess me too. I'm wondering if I was sober for that. I'm thinking there's no possible fucking way I could have been. And of course, while going down on her or doing whatever it is you lesbians do, the first image to pop up in my head was that image of her face with several arrows in it. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's unbelievable. Yeah, ain't that a kick in the fucking head, huh? Ain't that a fucking kick in the head? As does life, and as everything, things kept going not too long after that. As I mentioned, the girl was pretty unstable, so even though we began to engage in a sexual relationship, it was something that fell apart pretty quickly. For a quick example, since we're already here, her boyfriend was fully aware that she was coming to my house to have sex with me. And hey, that's none of my business so long as we're all consenting adults and know what the fuck is happening here. But it was pretty pathetic, if I could be completely honest with you. Like I mentioned, the girl was pretty crazy. I think the first night we slept together, there was a point where we got done and she locked herself in my bathroom for 20 minutes. And I just remember thinking, come on, I just got broken up with. Why you gotta make this about yourself, bro? I had to check on her, and when she came out, she was all traumatized and I don't know. Now, this is actually making me sound really bad. I did something really bad to that girl. But what ended up continuously being the problem with her was the fact that I did not want to be in a relationship with her, especially not after a breakup. I think she was pissed off that she was a rebound and that I was very, very obvious and honest about the fact that she was a rebound. And moving forward, well, let's just talk a little bit about it. There were a couple times her boyfriend drove her to my house so that she could have sex with me, vice versa. Okay, fine. There's a point where she voiced to me that she was upset with this exchange and thought maybe we should go out on a date. And honestly, I wasn't opposed to it. We were both artists, had similar interests, and she was a really cute girl. When she wasn't being insane, she was also very sweet. My main problem and issue with getting close or going out on dates was the fact that she had a boyfriend, and I'm not polyamorous. But hey, I gave it a shot. So one day, I take her out on a real nice date. We go to this restaurant, and then after that, I took her to my job. At the time, I worked at a rolled ice cream joint. We get some rolled ice cream. Of course, she doesn't pay for it, and then we're walking down the street. We knew that soon her boyfriend would be coming to pick her up. After me and this girl had been walking around this area, holding hands and smooching on each other for the last hour and a half or 2 hours, this guy comes into the street, runs up to her, picks her up, spins her around, and then gently places her back down on the floor whilst giving her a little kiss in the neck. And let me tell you something, I really, really didn't like that. As a matter of fact, I hated it. I swallowed my pride. I took it on the chin. I told myself this is why we don't fuck around with girls who are taken, even if people are all consenting adults. And after that, I think I began to distance myself from this girl. We had a complete falling out because of that incident, even though before the falling out itself, there was communication, to which she even said he did that on purpose because he never greets me that way, which is again, fucking pathetic. But now I want to talk to you a little bit about how I don't learn my lesson, because even though me and this girl had a huge falling out that ended up with one or another blocking each other on iMessage, fast forward about 6 to 12 months later, I'd moved apartments because my first roommate, shout out Dean, had moved back home after graduating, and so I'm living in a new place, and wouldn't you know who comes along, I don't know how me and her got back into communication, but we did. And once again, we were back on our bullshit, having sex with each other, with her boyfriend completely at arm's length. And by arm's length, I mean that was not a person that I was ever in communication with. I mean, it was so bad. And maybe I'm bullshitting you when I say kept at arm's length, because there was one time she wanted to do it at her house. I guess. The sick fuck. I think she was a sadist. I think that guy was a masochist. I don't know. I don't know why we couldn't have sex at my house. We totally could have sex at my house. I had my own room, my own bathroom inside my room. I don't know what the deal was. She insisted though, and so she pulls up in her car that, of course, her boyfriend is driving. She's in the passenger seat. I sit in the back, and this guy literally drives us to their house. We get into the house. He goes into his room to play his video games, and I'm fucking his girlfriend in the room next door. I mean, holy fucking shit, dude. I didn't even think she was being quiet about it. And I can't believe I agreed to that. I know I had to have experienced bad karma for that. It doesn't matter if we were consenting. It doesn't matter if he consented to driving to my house and picking me up so that I could fuck his girlfriend under his roof. That's not good. I shouldn't have done that. I should not have done that. I should not have done that. But the story doesn't quite end there. Not only should I not have done that, but I think he felt some type of way as well. There was one final instance of me and this girl sleeping together. I remember she got dropped off at my house. I told her we could mess around, but also that I had a lot of work that I had to do on my computer. So after we had sex, I hopped on my computer and started to get to work. She didn't like this. She started to get nutty again. I think once more, nutty about the prospects of not being able to have me in any other way than sexual. And so, even though she was supposed to stay for a couple of hours, we decided that it would be best if she went home early. So her boyfriend comes to pick her up. She goes downstairs. I say bye. I get back in my room. I sit on my computer. 5 minutes later, I get a call from her. I'm like, okay. I pick up the phone and she's like, hey, can you come downstairs? I'm like, why the fuck would I come downstairs? It's 12 a.m. She's like, can you please just come downstairs? All right. I should have really been careful. I think in that moment, I was very, very cautious. And knowing myself, I wouldn't be surprised if I brought down a pair of scissors. Just because you can never be too careful. When I get outside and go down my 3 flights of stairs, would you believe, like the beginning of an Usher music video, this man, her boyfriend, is standing there with his hands behind his back and his neck tilted up, chin pointing towards me. I said something along the lines of, yes. And he says, you seem uneasy, Elle. I said, yeah, it's 12 a.m. and your girlfriend's calling me, telling me to come outside for no reason. Then I come outside and you're standing here. So what's up? What the fuck is good right now? He simply tells me that he feels as though we got off on the wrong foot and that he doesn't want any beef with me. And then he asks, are we good? And I said, yeah, we're good. I think in that moment, I just really wanted that conversation to be fucking over because it was going nowhere fast and it didn't even need to happen. There was no animosity. I'm fucking your girlfriend. You have no part in this relationship. But to give you credit, I'm not emotionally attached to her or anything, so I don't know why we're having this conversation. And no, we're not gonna be friends. I think after that happened, I went upstairs, texted her something saying like, this is completely done, and I blocked her. I was so over the shenanigans, and of course, I put myself through that and in that situation, but in that moment, I was so over it. Well, would you look at that? This video really became something a little more different from what I anticipated. You might be wondering, hey, whatever happened to your ex-girlfriend? After we broke up, I remember trying to be friends of some sort until one day she soft blocked me or unfollowed me. I don't even remember, but I think it was a soft block. And then through that and through my anger, I just might have blocked them. I don't know, tried to delete any trace that I had of them. I was very distraught after that breakup. I think I was arguably the most distraught I'd ever been over any kind of breakup. Being like a little baby queer and somebody who spent my life dating guys and in the closet, I never really felt excessively affected when I was breaking up with a guy. I felt a little bad, especially when I would have to acknowledge that I fucked their shit up and was no good to them. But I didn't really experience heartbreak like the way that I did in that moment. And it was something that lasted for a while. 6 months had passed and I had still been writing songs about them, thinking about them, making edgy poetic artwork that was alluding to a relationship or some kind of heartbreak. Sleepless nights of me fucking blasting Joji, Wanted You, slow dancing in the dark, and slitting my fucking wrists to absolutely no avail. I also became a menace. I think within the span of like 6 months after the breakup, I had slept with like 7 girls or some crazy shit like that. I don't know how the fuck I had it in me, to be honest. But I was definitely acting out, and there wasn't a lot that could make the pain go away. To make matters even worse, at that 4 or 5 month mark of me having no contact with this ex, I remember that I was snooping. For some reason, I went on their Instagram page on a separate page, and after I had released, I think, a song I wrote, it was called Big Things. I wrote this song, Big Things. A lot of people liked it. I think it got like 1,000 plays on SoundCloud. And of course, it was about a lot of my struggles at the time, what I was going through, how I felt, a breakup, my problems with girls, and my problems with substance abuse or jerking off or whatever. To my surprise and dismay, not too long after releasing the song, I go snooping. And I end up on my ex-girlfriend's account, and I look at her page and I see this one post. And it was a post that really pissed me off. It was a post about me. The post read, "I still believe you were born to do something great. to be someone great. Good luck out there, and know that I'm still cheering you on. All my love, the daisy emoji. The reason that I can tell you that it was about me was because when we were in this relationship with each other, I would call her my daisy, and I was her sunflower. Really gay, I know. We always sent these emojis to each other as a profession of our very gay love. But what fucking gives? What fucking gives? What's the point? Why is this here? And why would you do this? I don't like using the word narcissist. I think that we're all on a spectrum of narcissism. I think sometimes it's good to be a narcissist. I think sometimes people develop these narcissistic tendencies because it's the body's way of protecting them at a point where they were seriously getting hurt in their lives. But this is some fuck shit right here, along with everything else that I experienced throughout the duration of the relationship. In the moment, I think the power was being exercised on me. I went another 3 months being completely distraught and fucked up, thinking I had some kind of a chance, and then experiencing that limerence of going on their page constantly to see if there were any other signs that we would ever possibly be together, any other signs that I was special and not just some kind of fucked up crutch or experiment or something. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. But that was that. A couple years later, I went and told this story online on my old YouTube channel, and then she came out of the woodwork asking me to delete it. I cowered like a bitch, but here we are, baby. Back to the bullshit. Heyo. In my eyes, it was the final display of power that my ex-girlfriend could have and hold over me. I cowered, I deleted the video, I left it at that. It never went back up. Obviously, I'm much older now, and while I don't think anybody's coming for me and requesting that I take down this video, as the last time I checked, my ex-girlfriend was wiped off the face of the internet, this video's not fucking going anywhere, baby. I'm speaking my truth. Don't piss me off. That just about ends my story. And now that we're here, there's a very vital question to ask, which is, what is the lesson? I could tell you there were a couple lessons, but right now what I'm gleaming is to not have sex with girls who are taken, whether it's consensual or not. Don't date people you haven't met over the internet, and don't date anybody who's into archery. On a serious note, there are a lot of other times where I have these things that I go through in life, some paths that I have led down, and it's purely under the guise of self-destruction, or not being able to cope with whatever's going on. So I'm just finding ways to pass the time or make myself feel better or stronger. And it's all temporary. It's all temporary pleasure, temporary relief, temporary numbing. I feel like the older I'm getting, I feel like very recently specifically, and the more that time is passing, I'm realizing that I need to take better care of myself so that I don't end up in these positions. And again, my frontal lobe is developed, or coming towards the end of development, so I've gotten a lot better when it comes to the people that I hang out with or associate myself with or give my time to. But I'm starting to find that I grow really, really tired of doing things that don't help me in the long run. And so if there's anything that I can tell you, it's to really, truly, and honestly put yourself and what's best for you first. Otherwise, you might get into a couple of weird situations. But that's going to do it for today's video. Be good and do good to the best of your ability. Thanks for drawing with me, and I'll see you in the next one. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, and if you want to see the full version of this artwork, make sure you check me out on Instagram or TikTok. You can find me at L the Devil, just like everything else.